Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you once again to the FIATA Higher Diploma in Supply Chain Management program, which is being run by the GIF Academy. And currently, the model that we are treating is a supply chain management model. And we have already dealt with lesson 1. And you remember that in lesson 1, we tried to have an exposition to what supply chain means. And then we look at the new market realities of the industry. And then we look at the drivers of supply chain performance. And then later on, we looked at the activities that are being managed in the supply chain. Then we later on also analyzed the supply chain model, where we look at the generic model and the SCORE model, which is the supply chain reference model. In this slide, we want to deal with the lesson 2. The lesson 2 talks about warehousing strategy for efficient supply chain management. And the learning objective is that participants will learn why organizations need warehousing and how warehousing can be strategic to organization competitive advantage. Participants should be able to identify general warehousing strategy, functionality, and operations, and then be in the position to differentiate among the various types of warehousing, and finally be exposed to warehouse management system. Now, why organizations need warehousing and how warehousing can be strategic to organizations' competitive advantage. As we know from the previous lesson, warehousing is one of the supporting activities managed in the supply chain to satisfy customers' demand. In the context of supply chain management, logistics exists to move and position inventory to achieve desired time, desired place, and possession benefits at the lowest total cost. Inventory has limited value until it is positioned at the right place and at the right location to support ownership transfer or value-added creation. Now you realize that if a firm does not consistently satisfy time and place requirement to its customers, it has nothing to sell because they cannot meet the requirement of the customer. For a supply chain to realize the maximum strategic benefit of logistics, the full range of functional work must be integrated. And when we talk about the functional work, we talk about right from order processing, inventory, transportation, warehousing, material handling, packaging, facility network. And you realize that these works or these activities or these functions must be well integrated. So warehousing, okay, is a very critical part of this particular, functions or functional areas that we are talking about. So imagine the diagram that you are seeing. We have about 5 activities, functional areas in the logistics of a supply chain network. And then you can see that the first one, which is the order processing, the second one, which is the inventory, and then the third one is the transportation. This arrangement has the potential to contribute significantly to a specified level of customer service with an associated total cost. So these 3 that I've mentioned are their logistics or their logistics drivers, as we mentioned in the previous class. So they must be what? Be well integrated, in a sense that these functions contribute to create a system solution for the integrated what? Supply chain. So you can see that there is an interrelationship among this level or these functions. You see, level 1 is connected to level 4. Level 4 is connected to level 5. Level 5 is all of them are interconnected. The 4th functionality of logistics is the logistics bit. Is the warehousing bit. The fourth functionality of logistics is the what? The warehousing bit, which also include material handling and packaging. And this represents an integral part of the logistics operation. Warehousing, material handling, and packaging are very, very important when you come to logistics. Now, when you talk about the number 3 aspect, which is the transportation or transport vehicles require materials handling for efficient loading and unloading. And then finally, the individual products are most efficiently handled when packaged together with the shipping cartons or other units. So transportation too goes on at this particular, interconnected logistics diagram that you are seeing. So the relationship, okay, the relationship or the relations between warehousing and the other functional areas, as you can see in this diagram, clearly indicate that work related to these functional areas combined, they work together to create capabilities needed to achieve logistical value. And when we say logistical value, it means that the right place, the right time, the right product, the right quality, the right quantity, okay, with regards to the customer specifications has been achieved. So let me ask you, assuming that this particular model, we take warehousing bit from it, what is the likely consequences would the supply chain network suffer? Assuming warehousing is absent in a model, what is likely to happen to the supply chain network? It's a question that you should ponder about. Now, what I thought is warehousing. Warehousing refers to the activities involved in the storage of goods on a large scale in a systematic and orderly manner. It involves holding or preserving goods in huge quantities from time of their purchase or the time of their production or manufacturing until their actual use or sale, and making them available conveniently whenever it is being needed by the required customer. A warehouse is a place to store inventory and to create time utility by bridging the time gap between production and consumption of goods. So when the goods is being manufactured today, it might not be consumed today. So where do we keep it? You need a warehouse. Okay. So I told you the other day that inventory, we talk about raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods. So the place that we store raw material, place that we store work in progress, place that we store finished goods is what we call what? A warehouse. It is typically viewed as a place to hold or store your inventory. However, in contemporary supply chain system, warehouse functionality can be more properly viewed as an inventory mixing. So you take into consideration of all the things that constitute inventory, and this is well managed by warehouse. What is the role of warehouse in the supply chain? Warehouses stores inventory across the supply chain, right from sourcing to the end, to coordinate and serve the product supply and consumer demand. This helps the members of the supply chain to have continuous production and improve their labor productivity. The need for inventory at every point of the supply chain is achieved through warehouse activity and also act as a storage point for them. So at sourcing, when you source a product, you need to keep it. Even the suppliers themselves, they need to have a warehouse that sometimes they keep their product until the demand has come. After you've taken hold of your supplies, and manufacturing has not yet taken place, the product must be stored and you need a warehouse. After it has been manufactured and distribution has not yet taken place, it must be stored, and you need a what? A warehouse. And even if you distribute to customers, customers may not sell all the product at the same time. So even the customers create warehouses, okay, whereby the goods are picked from time to time for sale and consumption. We have something called a centralized what? Warehouse that manages parts inventory to cater the requirement of the production units, reduce the inventory to be stocked at the production centers. A warehouse that stores a variety of products helps to consolidate the multi-product requirement of the retail outlet of the supply chain. Similarly, the consolidation of product quantity helps to get a benefit of transport economies and thereby reducing logistics costs. These days, technology has influenced every aspect of the warehouse operation by creating better ways to perform functions of storage and handling of goods. So in order to make the warehouse interesting and efficient and responsive, there are now ICT tools, the use of barcode readings and other things, warehouse management systems, automation has all come to help. The objective of warehouse is basically to maximize the use of information, space, requirements, and labor, and ensure the easy accessibility and protection of the asset and all the items stored. And it is also to focus on minimizing material handling costs and minimize what? Warehouse operation costs. That's one of the activities. Warehouse benefit can largely be classified into two broadly, namely what? Economic benefits and what? Service benefits. Under the economic benefits, we talk about the benefit we get as a result of consolidation and break bulk. Those of you who are in the freight forwarding space, you understand this, that when we talk about consolidation, the warehouse receives materials or items or cargo or shipment or consignment from a number of sources that are stocked and consolidated. They are put into one single unit as one single shipment to the customer in a single location, so that the other people involved will come to that location to pick them up. This helps to reduce transport costs by moving the goods to the customers. However, in the break bulk, the warehouse receives large shipment from single source that is stocked and then sort out the requirement of different customers and deliver the goods to them. And this creates an economic of scale in terms of the movements of goods to the warehouse. So consolidation and deconsolidation, they are the opposites. Okay, break bulk. Consolidation is when the consignment has been shipped at once and you need to break them into pieces to the respective customers. Consolidation is when you bring the respective customers' goods together as one. So that's what happens. Another economic benefit is sorting. Sorting is a process of configuring the goods as it flows from the origin to destination. And this is done through cross-docking, mixing, and assembling of the product. Cross-docking means that we combine inventory from multiple origins, okay? For multiple origins into a required assortment for a specific customer. And then we transport the goods to their requisite locations. When we talk about mixing also talk about sorting the inventory received from the multiple origins into a required combination of goods specified by the customer, and then transporting of the goods at a very cheapest or lowest cost. When we talk about assembly, it is a process whereby product and components that are moved to the warehouse from the second-tier supplier for the manufacturing plant. So we have the second, third tier supplier. We have the supplier. So assembling is actually happens whereby the products and components are moved from the warehouse from the second tier, which is being transported to the what? The manufacturing plant for production to take place. Remember that I told you earlier on that without the raw materials, production cannot start. So the second tier supplier will bring the product to the manufacturing plant for processing sake. Another important economic importance is seasonal storage. Products manufactured throughout the year, which have seasonal demands, are stored in a warehouse and sold during the season. Similarly, products that are produced during the seasons are stored in the warehouse, which are sold throughout the year, and this is known as seasonal storage. There are some products that are sold only on Christmas. There are some products which are sold only when students are graduating. There are certain products which are sold only when students have resumed school and all that. There are certain products that are used in rainy seasons and all that. It's also important in reverse logistics in a sense that the warehouse facilitates the return of goods to the manufacturer and helps the members of the supply chain to get their economic benefit. Reverse logistics is a portfolio on its own that we'll be looking at in the course of the lesson. Now, when we talk about the service benefits, it also includes spot stocking. With spot stocking, manufacturer plan, they actually plan and then stock seasonal goods in the warehouse to improve their responsiveness to the market. So that when the time comes, they will not be stranded, then the goods will be readily available for sale or distribution. So before you can do that, as a supply chain manager, you should be able to forecast the demand. So we talk about demand forecasting for that product, and then select the warehouse where the stocks are maintained to satisfy the demand immediately. So, and then we also have services, assortment service benefits. In the assortment, manufacturers stock different products manufactured by them in a warehouse. You get the point I'm making? And this enables the warehouse to cater for the multiple product requirement of the members of the supply chain. Okay, so all the members of the supply chain, they have the requirement, they have specifications that they need to work on. So because of warehouse, you're able to store it at where you are supposed to store the goods at the point of sourcing, okay, assortment. When you have to store the goods at the point of manufacturing, when you have to store the goods at the point of distribution or whatever, okay, that's what we are talking about, so that the multi-purpose requirement of the members of the supply chain is achieved. We also have value addition service. A modern distribution warehouse specializes in performing a range of value-added services to change the physical features or the configuration product to suit the need of the customers as required by the retailers. So at the warehouse, people can package the goods, we can add some value to it, okay, just to satisfy the demands of the customers. How is warehouse operated? So we talk about warehouse operation. The warehouse activity actually starts with the unloading of goods received from the manufacturer or the one who is supplying. The goods received are to be checked for quality and quantity purposes. So we have officers in charge, tally clerks, records keepers, and all that. And once the goods are checked, they are moved to the place of storing in the designated place in the warehouse. Then the order is started being received from the customers, and the warehouse initiates the process of order picking. What is order picking then? We'll talk about the process of taking the stored products to the place of packing, okay? And when the required goods are picked, they are sorted and packed accordingly to the requirement of the customer. Packed goods are then loaded into the transport vessel or truck or whatever for shipment to the customer. A warehouse is therefore responsible for the replenishment of stock to meet the demand of the customers. They also handle the return of goods, which is very important in the supply chain. So without warehouses, there will be issues. Types of warehouses. Generally, there are two types. We talk about private and public warehouse. And private warehouses are owned by a manufacturer or a trader. When we talk about a trader here, we are talking about maybe importer or an exporter who is shipping his consignment and is able to operate his own warehouse and store its own product in it. Public warehouses are normally owned and operated by a central warehousing corporation. Sometimes in other countries, we have state warehousing corporation, okay? And they are being licensed by the government, and they provide storage and physical distribution services on a rental basis for small and large firms. In Ghana, I think we have bonded warehouses that are being rented to, traders whenever they need their services. Public warehouses provide flexibility and cost competitiveness in the market. Public warehouses can be classified as general merchandise warehouse, refrigerated warehouse, special commodity warehouse, and bonded warehouse. Okay, so when we talk about general merchandise warehouse, it's been designed to store products such as electronics, small appliances, food, household supplies, and all that. And refrigerated ones are the warehouses which are designed to control temperature of some goods, which are frozen foods or chilled products, okay, cold items. They are kept in that environment for them to be preserved. We also have special commodity warehouses which are designed to stock specific products, maybe blood, maybe flowers, maybe, perishable goods, dangerous goods, and all that. Then bonded warehouse are licensed by the government to store products prior to payment of import duties. These warehouses are located at the places of ports to support the importers and exporters. Now, let me see. You see, as the word goes, bonded, it means that the goods are under bond. They are under seizure until import duties have been paid on them. So once they are paid, they need to be released. We also have cooperative warehouse and then contract warehouse, okay, which I'll soon explain to you. When we talk about cooperative warehouse, they are owned, managed, and controlled by cooperative societies, okay, like organizations, associations, and all that. Okay, like give, for instance, we can put our eyes together and build a warehouse for our members, and then it will facilitate our service and make sure that the cost of doing business has also come down. Contract warehouses are also there. That one, most of the time, it is a combination of both private and public operations. And they offer range of value-added services in that warehouse for customers at the lowest possible cost, and sometimes provide total logistics solutions to customers. What are the strategies of warehouse? Once a warehouse mission is determined, okay, you see, we have several warehouse strategies, but you cannot implement it just like that. Okay, you cannot implement it just like that. You need to actually look at the mission. Look at the mission. And once the mission has been determined, management can develop a certain procedures for a specific warehouse strategy to be adopted. So it all depends on objectives of the company or the logistics objective of the company. A warehouse strategy depends on these things, okay? And sometimes, to elaborate on this, sometimes a company may focus on making goods available to the customer, or to improve customer service offered, or to minimize the total distribution cost, or to leverage ICT, or whatever. So the warehouse strategy will focus on determining the number of warehouses based on the mission which has been determined. Warehouse strategy focus on determining the number of warehouses related to the types of warehouse needed for meeting the company's requirements. Many firms use combination of private, public, and contract facilities. So that can be noted. The other factors that we consider when we are selecting, how do you call it? Warehouse strategy. Sometimes you look at the presence, okay, the presence synergy, okay. Should the warehouse be located near the market, okay, in order to support inventory whenever inventory requirement of customers? Sometimes you look at the industry synergies, which also talk about you should be able to collate with the other firms in meeting the industry's requirement to get the benefit of multi-product and economic of scale. So you are thinking industry at the industry level. And sometimes you look at the operating flexibility and location flexibility. All these things influence warehousing strategy as well as economic of scale. So warehouse location. The warehouse location strategy depends on various factors like the quantity to be stored in it, the nature and then the variety of product that will be stocked in it, consolidation, and what is needed to satisfy the market, lead time, okay, lead time, transport cost, the cost of the land, tax structure of the region, incentives provided by the government or if any, labor availability, cost of construction, and the cost and availability of utilities. So once these things are done, then the site location of the warehouse will have to be done after analyzing the factors of location, and decision is made. So when that is done, then you look at the warehouse layout. Warehouse layout, that's the process of allocating space. Allocating space. You have the warehouse. How do you allocate space for material handling? How do you allocate space for equipment? How do you allocate space for pallets? What kind of pallet are you using? What is the size? So the first step in determining pallet size, okay, is to know the usage. What are you going to use this pallet for? Then you create the necessary pallet that is needed. And the allocation of space for various functions of the warehouse should be planned during the layout stage. And the layout should be planned to protect against theft and privilege. If your layout is poor, people will be stealing your product. And then all the time, your customer will not be happy. With the coming into force of ICT, nowadays, warehouses are being automated. Technology has enabled warehouse operators to start up and run smoothly to accommodate the rapid changes successfully to meet the requirement of the business. We have technology like pick to light, voice activated receiving and packing, have automated warehouse processes, transport system, management system using RFID, okay, radioactive and all that. Tax used improving the warehouse processes. Today, we have a fully automated warehouse using warehouse management system and robots to handle products. And this improves efficiency of warehouse and, for that matter, the supply chain process. Warehouse, in effect, contribute to the efficiency of members of the supply chain. The role of warehousing is to provide economic and service benefits to benefit the members of the supply chain. Warehouses are designed to accommodate the primary activities of storage and inventory handling and are classified based on ownership as private and warehouses. A warehouse strategy is important in designing a successful warehouse strategy for effective supply chain process. So when you look at a typical warehouse management system, it deals with, purchase order management, store order management, replenishment, order scheduling, loading, receiving, storage, pathway, and all that. So it's very, very important so that as supply chain practitioners, we learn. So this lesson has demonstrated that warehousing, effective warehousing or strategic warehousing contribute tremendously to the members of the supply chain, and it is able to improve organizations' competitive advantage. In this lesson, we have discussed the role of warehousing, its objective types, and strategy in the supply chain network. We have also discussed this warehousing decision in supply chain, and warehousing. We have understood that warehouse provides a broader value proposition in storing material and satisfying customer expectation. A warehouse strategy decides the success and efficiency of the supply chain, and the supply chain managers have to understand the market requirement and plan the warehouse strategy to improve the effectiveness of the supply chain. Thank you very much. And I believe that we will be making good use of the e-learning portal. And if you have any questions, you can direct them to me and we will do justice to it. Thank you so much.